Call the meeting to order. Everyone, please rise for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meeting of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Cedar Grove Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be advertised by having the date, time, and place thereof posted on bulletin boards in the district, published and/or transmitted to the Verona Cedar Grove Times and Star Ledger newspapers, filed with the township clerk, and posted on the district's website. May I have roll call, please?
Mrs. Burke?
Here.
Mrs. Dye?
Here.
Mrs. Marinelli?
Here.
Mr. Mandela?
Here.
And Mr. Sakala?
Here. At this time, I would like to open the meeting to the public for comments for any items that are on the agenda. Seeing none, close that portion of the meeting. Good evening, everybody. Mr. Featherman, board. Do we have any committee reports this evening, maybe from the referendum committee, perhaps?
Me? Oh, sure. The only report I have to say is we passed, thank God. No, it was awesome. Yes. And again, we've thanked them a lot personally, but publicly, the committee was awesome as always. And, I truly believe that if it wasn't for the committee, we would not pass. The information that is put out there by the committee, the time that Mr. Schoner takes with the video to the road show with our superintendent, all the administrators, it was amazing. And, we're very fortunate to have the support that we have from the community and our administrators. And, on behalf of the board, thank you to everyone because there's so much good ahead for these kids, and it's long overdue, long overdue. So thank you again to the committee.
Thank you. Sorry to
Thank
put you
you,
on the
Mr.
spot.
Scott. No, that's great. It's easy to thank them, so thanks.
Are there any other committee reports this evening? No? Okay. We have several board presentations. Paul Lurch, our auditor, will be here a little bit later, so we're going to skip over that for now, and we're going to start with the 2015 cheerleaders overnight trip to AC competition proposal. So, welcome.
Is this where I have to stand?
Yep.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Jennifer Noto. I'm the head coach at the high school, and I'm here tonight to ask your permission for the 2015 competition team to travel to Atlantic City on February 6th and 7th to compete at Spirit Unlimited's National Cheerleading Championship. The plan would be to leave Friday afternoon, arrive in Atlantic City by like 3 or 4 o'clock. We plan to have a practice Friday evening, and then we plan to have a team and parent dinner. And then we would be staying the night at Harrah's, and then we compete at the Boardwalk Hall on Saturday morning. So we haven't gotten exact times for that yet. We usually don't get them to about 2 weeks before. So that morning would be spent preparing for the competition. We'd participate, do the awards, and then again, we would do like a team chaperone breakfast and lunch, and then maybe do some sightseeing, and we plan to return back to Cedar Grove leave AC by 5 o'clock. So we've been preparing for this since August, and we've actually already done 3 competitions this season. We've been doing pretty well so far. So we look to just keep practicing, getting better, and we hope, for a win this year at Nationals.
This was the same as last year, correct?
Last year we went to Maryland.
Oh, right.
But this year, there's an overlap this year with the cheering state championships, so the one in Atlantic City is a better fit for us this year because we're planning to participate at the state championship as well, and that's March 1st.
Can you repeat the dates for that?
Sure, it's February 6th and 7th, Friday and Saturday. And every cheerleader has a parent that would be willing to come with us. And that was the same last year. We had a great following that came with us, which makes everything better. Have a loud cheering section and just makes it more fun for the girls too. And for us, we love the support. So that's all I have. I don't know if there's any questions
you.
or anything.
Any questions?
Okay.
Great. Good luck and,
Thank
and
you.
continue
Yeah,
your
thank you
success.
for doing it.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Well, that'll be on the agenda. We have to do 2 reads on that, right? So it'll be the next.
January 6th, absolutely.
Okay.
I was only first.
Okay. The 2015 boys baseball preseason trip to Florida proposal. Welcome. Step right up.
Coach, thank you. See you again.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Renee, I left you out. I started with the boss, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Good evening. Hello again, and let me first thank you for having me at your October meeting, and again, much appreciated. I also wanted to start by congratulating you and the township and the board for the passing of the referendum, and I share your excitement to be a part of the new and upcoming and fresh Cedar Grove. I am here again to present on our 2015 Florida trip, our spring training trip to Orlando, Florida. This will be the 5th time, if approved, this will be the 5th time that we do take the team. All trips have seen me represent the team as the head coach. Our inaugural trip was in the spring of 2009. I've actually been twice with Coach Gogarty as a baseball staff. We've been together. I went 1 year with Coach J.D. Virgilio, and this year will be my 2nd year with my assistant coach, Danny Diorio, who couldn't be here due to a school function where he's a 4th grade teacher in the Livingston district. I will introduce Jack Benson in a second, who has a few words as a player. This particular season, we will travel with 25 players, somewhat of a swollen or larger roster. The roster is in the book that you have in front of you. The swollen roster, the reasoning behind that is as follows. We see the trip as a reward for players that have come up through our program. And we show respect for those players by inviting all juniors and seniors, and then a few sophomores that we feel may help the varsity club come spring. We do that because the current juniors, because we go on an every other year basis, would never get to go. So we do attempt to get every junior on board. We have already had a parent meeting. The parents have been kept abreast of our expectations, our dates, our costs, the thinking behind my invitations, and there has been a clear message that obviously coming back to New Jersey and kicking off April, that I will not be carrying 25 players on the varsity roster. So, with the trip and the cost, I think it is important to get everything out on the table, communicate with parents so they know where we stand as coaches and how we see the trip. The itinerary is in front of you as well. Our trip will leave after school on Thursday, March 19th, and we will fly out of United Airlines out of Newark right around dinner time. When we land in Florida, we'll gather bags. We get rental cars. I have a chaperone for each room. There's 4 boys in each room. Embassy Suites, it's the same hotel that we've used all 5 trips. We're very comfortable. They treat us very well, and we return the favor. So we will check in. That's usually a late night. By the time we get rental cars, get to the hotel, and we do find ourselves playing a doubleheader Friday morning, but we're no worse for the wear. We're ready to go. We do return late Tuesday night, March 24th, and the team realizes, and it's of utmost importance to me, that they will be not only on time for school on Wednesday the 25th, but they will be early. And I will tell you that I've sat down with Mr. Mangilli, Mr. Gallagher. I can assure you that we are working in and around the new park assessment. We seem okay with that and the children and the students that we are bringing. So that's been crossed off our to-do as well. The hotel, Embassy Suites Lake Buena Vista, is where we've been staying. very comfortable, very appropriate because they do provide breakfast, which is it gets us off on the right foot every day. You don't have players after looking forward to a full day of playing ball, on a couple of Dunkin' Donuts. So they are getting a good breakfast, and we go on from there. So. Let me flip through here as well. We've registered here. There's my invite list. There's a sample schedule in there. We are at the park every day for about, it depends, double headers, practices, batting practice sessions. It's not all business, and I'll be the first to tell you that it's not all about baseball. It's about growing as a team. It's about building camaraderie, eating meals together, spending time together, and it's just so beneficial. So coming from me as your head coach, I can tell you that their behavior, their sportsmanship is of utmost importance to represent Cedar Grove in a positive light, to meet schools around the nation. It's very exciting. I'd like to have Jack come say a few words. Jack, I said we've invited a couple sophomores this year, so it's rare for a sophomore to be invited, only because there's usually a great deal of juniors and seniors in our program. With that being said, the 25 students that you see on the list in front of you, Jack is the only player that has been. Jack was the only sophomore that was on the trip 2 years ago, and so it's pretty clear that there's been quite the turnaround in our program, but I'd like Jack to talk to you about, from a player's standpoint, how he sees it. So Jack Benson, a senior captain of mine.
I would like to start by saying thank you to the Board of Ed and Coach Valanzano for allowing me to speak tonight on behalf of the program at the high school. I'm a four-year varsity player, and most importantly, I've been on the trip before. When I first came on the trip, I was the youngest player, and like Coach Valanzano just said, I will be the oldest now. I know what the trip's about, and to be totally honest, it's a great trip. It's very beneficial for each and every player, not just on the field, but off the field. I believe that, whether it's waking up in the morning and having breakfast with, your buddies and you're soon to grow and be buddies, I've learned from one of Coach Valanzano's first meetings, my freshman year, he told me that through this sport and through other sports you play and programs, you will meet new friends, create new memories, and without this Florida trip, it wouldn't have been possible. There's many of the seniors that were my seniors I still talk to and communicate to, and they're very beneficial to me. And I hope to be that for the young players that he's talking about, the few sophomores and all the juniors. So someone who's been on the trip, I very much say that it's a great trip, and we get our work done on the field and off the field. With that coming along, we know as a varsity baseball team, there's a lot of things that have to be taught and learned. Through this experience, you will learn a lot just through the experience, not being told. It comes with responsibility, whether it's doing drill work and taking leadership during drill work, or simply just meeting up at Space Mountain on the correct time. So I would like to say thank you to the Board of Ed and supporting our program in this trip. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, folks.
Anybody have any questions for Coach?
This is great.
Laura's answering my questions, because I obviously zoned out and I didn't hear part of something.
If I left anything out, I want to make sure that.
No, you obviously said it and I just missed it, so I'm sorry.
Coach, thank you very much,
Laura's
and
clarifying.
That's awesome.
best of luck this season. Good, Mr. Lurch? Okay. All right, Mr. Lurch, welcome. We have Paul Lurch here. He is our auditor, and he's here to present some information from the auditor's management report for this year.
Great, thanks. Thanks for having me. We're here back again this year to report on the results of the audit for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2014. I'll start off by saying that the district received an unmodified opinion. Unmodified opinion in layman's terms is a clean opinion. It's the opinion that all Board of Educations are striving for. So that's good news. And I think that just from an overall perspective, I think when you look at We'll talk a little bit more in detail about some of the comments here. We really do not have a significant amount of comments. The two that we have are really benign. So I think that when you reflect back on the enormity of the audit and what's being performed, to come up with these minor, insignificant type of comments means that you should feel comfortable that the district's business offices run well. And certainly those are the results are in the audit, speak for themselves. But right now, what I'd just like to focus with the board, at least, is to go over fund balance. And I think it's important that we talk a little bit about fund balance and equity and where the board ended at the end of the year. So for the board members, it would be on Exhibit C1 and on page 60 of the larger of the two reports. The larger of the two reports is the report which includes our opinion, of course, the financial information, footnotes, statistical information, single audit items, anything financially is in this particular report. The smaller of the two reports is really a compliance report. It talks about what was required to be audited and what the results of those requirements are. So on page 60, page 60 is the budgetary schedule of expenditures and revenues. And really what this is just a summation of your current activity for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2014. It identifies all your revenues, all your expenditures, and compares those to the actual, to the budget for a variance column. But if you were to focus under the actual column at the very bottom, fund balance. So at the end, the district for the fiscal year end increased its fund equity or fund balance, $477,405, to a grand total now of $4,595,248,000. This is based on the budgetary basis. A slight distinction between generally accepted accounting principles would be reflected on Exhibit B1. And really the big difference here is that several years back, the state of New Jersey delayed state aid payments to all Board of Educations, the final two. And generally accepted accounting principles would not allow us to report those final two state aid payments as a revenue. So at that point, the state of New Jersey said, well, that's fine. So for generally accepted accounting principles, report under GAAP in a different area, which will be up front, under the modified accrual and a full accrual in the exhibits B1 and A1. But here in Exhibit C1, they directed everyone to just please recognize those two payments as a revenue. And so really what it means, it's about $350,000 difference for Cedar Grove, where equity will be higher here on a budgetary basis. And this is really the document that you really need to focus on. This is what's going to be utilized for budget development and accounting and reporting for the state of New Jersey. So having said that, we ended the year with the $4,595,248. Board of Educations in the state of New Jersey are limited to retaining 2% of your operating expenditures. There are some adjustments that are made to the 2% number. Typically, they are for extraordinary aid that wasn't utilized through the budget process, as well as non-public aid. So for Cedar Grove, 2% would have, calculated out to $506,000. But their modifications are almost $300,000. So really, we ended the year with an allowable unassigned fund balance of $803,000. So when we start to work ourselves through and we start to analyze the roughly $6 million, the first $803,000 is carved out as a permissible free balance or free equity, if you will. Then we work our way up to assigned fund balance. Assigned fund balance under designated for subsequent year expenditures of $216,000 simply means that $216,000 of fund equity was utilized by the Board of Education as a revenue line item in the current fiscal year. We're in 14-15. That amount of money was utilized as a revenue. Then we go to year-end encumbrances, $168,363. And that represents goods and services which were ordered but yet not performed or delivered. A prime example would be the contract with Lurch, Vinci, and Higgins. So we were contracted with the Board of Education, but of course we could not perform any of those services until after the year end. So it's a reservation of equity. Those amounts which are reserved in encumbrances, 168, will roll and add to your current 14-15 budget and be expended through that process. Then we get up into the restricted fund balance areas. And the Board of Education has one reserve. There are 3 permissible. You have one reserve, and that's capital reserve. Capital reserve is money that's set aside by the Board of Education, and it is to be utilized for facility improvements. The capital reserve started out with $1,555,000, and through the board resolution at the end of the year, the board directed another deposit of $275,000, whereas now we ended the year with $1,832,000. But the $1,832,000 is broken down into 2 components. The designated component of $408,000, $379, is the amount that the board has designated and utilized again in the current fiscal year. So that's the amount that's currently being utilized out of the 1.8, which leaves you a fund balance in capital reserve, undesignated or unrestricted, of $1,424,109. Now, just before we leave capital reserve, there is a limitation on the capital reserve. And capital reserve is restricted to the amount that's in your long-range facility plan. And that long-range facility plan has a local component in it. And that amount that was prepared, and it was prepared several years back, 5, 6 years back, was $1.8 million, almost 1.9. So you have to be a little careful when you look at the limitations. You need to go back, look at these long-range facility plans, determine whether or not they are going to modify significantly. So as school boards start to come and approach these maximum numbers, I always caution them to make sure you go back, try to update. I know everybody in the state of New Jersey is now trying to institute the long-range facility plan updates, and they're a little slow on that. So again, their limitation is roughly 1.9 million for you. You're really sitting at 1.4 million at this point. And that leaves us now with the final components, and that's excess surplus designated. $780,062. When we were here last year and we were discussing the audit and excess surplus, we talked about that dollar value. So when we ended 2013, your excess surplus number was $780,062. So that amount is being utilized in your current year, again, 14-15 budget. So when you go through that process and that calculation, you're left with the final component, and that's current year excess surplus. Current year excess surplus is $794,329. And that amount will be utilized as tax relief when you get into your 15-16 budget development. I don't know if anybody has any questions on surplus. Otherwise, I would just go over some of or kind of give you an overview on the 2 comments that we did have. So those are going to be reported in the smaller of the 2 reports. And as I indicated earlier when I first started, we really only have 2 areas to discuss. One is athletics and one is student activities. I could just tell you, from doing this, that these are the 2 most common areas for comments or recommendations. I'm going to see it in about 80% of all the audits we do. Very difficult to eliminate. But having said that, our first comment deals with the athletics. There is a disbursement cycle, and we test that disbursement cycle. And really what we're doing is we're pulling a random sample from disbursements out of the athletic account. So as you can imagine, some of them are for events and some of them are for referee payments. Well, policy has dictated that there are 3 required signatures for these disbursements. And then when we talk about disbursements for referees, we're also looking to make sure that the referee signs as a claimant that they actually perform the services. So we went through that test, and we had several instances where we were lacking the required signatures for some of the athletic disbursements. And the final area is dealing with the high school athletic accounts. The first item deals with, again, looking at the disbursement cycle here, doing that audit verification. We had numerous instances where the disbursements were lacking invoices. Just like we would in your general account, of course, any disbursement that's dispersed out of that account has to have the proper signatures, but of course, more importantly, it has to have a vendor invoice supporting the charge. When we did our sampling through the high school activity accounts, we did come across a pretty sizable number of disbursements which were lacking the vendor invoice. The last item, as we were going through our testing, we also then take a look at, we scanned all the disbursements, and in doing that, we kind of take a look at seeing any checks that are made to individuals. Okay, and when we did that, we noticed that there was a pattern of checks being made to an individual for reimbursement. I think that it's just good internal control policies and procedures, among other reasons, that all disbursements, as with the general account again, really we should not be reimbursing. That should be not the norm, but the exception. All checks should be made directly to vendors. We shouldn't be reimbursing individuals for disbursements that they made on behalf of the activity accounts through their credit cards. So that's more of a common sense type of item, and we'd like to see that to be the exception. And I think you could do that by creating another policy saying that if there are situations which warrant an individual to actually purchase through a credit card on their own credit card to be reimbursed, that they get prior approval by an individual. And the board can determine who that individual should be. So that'll be the exception, and when it happens, it'll be verified and approved prior to the actual execution. And that's my report. I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. Everyone have a wonderful holiday.
No, thank you. It's clear as always. That's why we don't have questions, because it's not like we ignore you. We just get it.
We try to
make
be
it
clear,
easy
yeah.
to understand it, because so thank you.
Thanks for having us. We
Good seeing
appreciate it
you.
as well. Yep.
And I would just like to thank Renee, because this is a big part of what you do. Just going down your laundry list here, under all these things, and there are none. So thank you for doing everything so well.
Thank you.
Great. Good night.
Good night.
We're just going to adjourn for 2 minutes, just to give everyone a chance to exit if they want. Of course, everyone is welcome to stay. We do have some business to get to, but we'll take 2 minutes and we'll be back. Okay, we'll meet back to order. We'll move on the agenda at this time from the Office of the Business Administrator and Board Secretary under minutes. May I have a motion for B1, which is a motion to approve the public and executive minutes of December 2nd, 2014, and B2, which is a motion to approve the board secretary certification to the Board of Ed pursuant to the Administrative Code that no line item has encumbrances and expenditures which exceed the line item appropriation in violation of the Administrative Code. May I have a motion for those items, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Dye?
Yes.
Mrs. Marinelli?
I am B1, correct? Okay, I am
B1
going.
and B2.
I'm sorry?
B1 and B2.
Yes, I am going to abstain from B1 and B2.
And Mr. Mandela?
Aye.
And Mr. Sakala?
Yes. May I have a motion under bills for B3, which is a motion to pay the list of bills that was in our, was provided to us for December 16, 2014, as listed therein.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Dye?
Yes.
Mrs. Marinelli?
Aye.
Mr. Mandela?
Aye.
And Mr. Sakala?
Yes. Under business, may I have a motion for B4 through B6? B4 is a motion to accept the Cedar Grove Board of Education Comprehensive Annual Financial Report with recommendations. B5 is a motion to approve the corrective action plan as set forth therein. And B6 is a motion to approve the Four Pillars Group LLC application to use the Memorial Middle School on Wednesday evenings on those dates set forth in that item. May I have a motion for those three items, please?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, may I have roll call, please?
Mrs. Berth? Mrs. Dye?
Yes.
Mrs. Marinelli?
Aye.
Mr. Mandela?
Aye.
And Mr. Sakala?
Yes. From the Office of the Superintendent of Schools, under Personnel, I guess first we are going to have our all-school council report. Brielle Ratty is here, welcome, and we're looking forward to hearing what you have to tell us tonight.
So on behalf of the Also Council and the Cedar Grove High School student body, we'd first like to congratulate Mia Walton as the Student of the Month in the area of science. Mia is a highly motivated student with a deep interest in science. She applies well-developed critical thinking skills and an understanding of scientific concepts to excel in the biology, chemistry, and physics classes she has taken at the high school. In addition to taking several AP science classes, Mia is considering studying engineering in college, so we'd like to congratulate Mia. Next, we would also like to thank the National Honor Society for generously donating 2 miniature pine trees for the planters in the front of the school, so they're a nice holiday touch. The All School Council's annual lip sync competition will take place on Friday, January 9th at 7 p.m. in the auditorium. Tickets went on sale on December 8th. So hurry and get your tickets before they sell out, because they sell out quickly. It's a great competition that we do annually. Next, Miss Jessen has announced that the annual musical production this year will be You're in Town. So a little synopsis. The musical takes place in an undisclosed city, and for decades a serious drought has inflicted on society with vast poverty, although a callous business tycoon such as the main antagonist, Caldwell B. Cladwell, have made a fortune through bribery and monopolization of restrooms. All toilets have become property of the corporation You're in Good Company. And this hilarious musical will hit the CGHS stage in February, the 26th to the 28th. Next, Ms. Jessen and Mr. Savino have been working tirelessly with their choir and band students in preparation for the upcoming winter concert on this Thursday, the 18th at 7 in the auditorium. And lastly, CGHS is gearing up for the Also Council's annual Holiday Bash. And this is a competition among the grades to earn bragging rights as to which the best grade is in the school. The bash will take place on Tuesday, December 23rd at 11 a.m. And we have some really interesting and fun activities this year, including Donut on a String, Gingerbread Face, Junk in the Trunk, musical chairs, tug of war, and a relay race that includes like scooter laps, Hooper ball laps, and like this Rudolph relay. So it should be fun. And that's everything.
I haven't seen you. I just wanted to say you did an unbelievable job in The Miracle Worker.
Oh, thank you.
It was, I mean, we said it after the board, at our next board meeting, but to have you here personally, you weren't here at our last meeting. It was amazing.
Thank you so
Really
much.
amazing.
Thank you.
And thank you for your report tonight. We appreciate it, and we love to hear from the All School Council and to keep informed of what's going on at the high school. So thank you very much. We also have our superintendent's report this evening. Mr. Featherman?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Sakala. Good evening, everyone. Brielle, great to see you here tonight. Nice job with your report. As you can see from the report that I've provided, it is extensive. After all, there's a lot going on here in Cedar Grove. The report kicks off with, we couldn't resist, posting the tally sheet for our recent referendum victory. Well done. And to echo Mr. Mandela's sentiments, it was an honor, true honor, to work with the committee that was so mobilized and so determined to get the message out about this opportunity for our kids. And so kudos to the community of Cedar Grove and to the board for, frankly, for their courageous efforts to turn people's attention to what, really can make a difference for our kids in this community. So great job, team. Well done. Proud to be your superintendent. And so as you can flip through this report, and we'll post it online, and please take some time, I'm often asked, so what are we doing relative to the Common Core, and how are we preparing for Park? And really, we can talk ad nauseum about the things that we are doing. So these reports that I issue, with the help of our principals and our supervisors, really, I think, provides a very nice read for those of you interested in what we're doing to prepare for Park and how we're implementing the Common Core K through 12. I couldn't possibly sit here and read this to you. It's not necessary. But it's chock full of what we're doing and how we're preparing our youngsters for the Park assessment that's just around the corner. It begins in March for the first part of that assessment, and again in April for the second. So there's tons of things going on relative to curriculum, park preparation, at all grade levels. So please take a minute to read all the good things that are going on relative to curriculum, instruction, and assessment here in Cedar Grove. The last we met, we talked a bit about our district's assessment scores. And deservedly so, we had some concerned folks here asking the pointed question, so what are we doing? And again, I redirect. We're doing a lot. Please take your time, read through this, and give me a call, shoot me an email, and I'd be happy to elaborate. So rather than flip through all these pages, what I thought I'd do is just sort of highlight one particular program that we're doing, basically K through 8. And it's spearheaded by Jeremy Lugumino, our technology teacher at the middle school. And the project is called Letters to Troops. And I want to read a letter to you, and I'll tell you who it is when we're done. I'm writing this note to express how thankful I am to Jeremy Lugumino. Jeremy has instilled in the students of Cedar Grove the most valuable lessons in life. He has taught them to think of others, express their thoughts, and write inspirational notes of thanks for the men and women in the military service. The students in Cedar Grove wrote more than 1,000 inspirational holiday notes to the servicemen and women that will be away from home, their family, and friends during the holiday season. I spent several hours reading a number of these letters and notes that were written to my son, Lance Corporal Robert Sweeney, and his fellow Marines. I was impressed and overwhelmed with gratitude for all the time, effort, and thoughtfulness that went into this special project. Bob has been stationed at Camp Hansen in Japan since June 2014. Bob was away last Christmas and New Year's and was scheduled to be away again this year. He was recently granted recruiter's assistance, and a week ago will be arriving in New Jersey on December 16th. We are thrilled that he will be with us for the holidays. Mr. Lugumino created a holiday video with all of the middle school students singing carols for the servicemen and women. Many teachers, students, and families donated supplies to be sent to these servicemen and women stationed in Japan. Most of these letters and supplies have been sent to the servicemen and women that will be in Japan this Christmas. As a parent of someone in the military, I know how difficult it can be to be apart during the year, especially during the holidays. This project is a wonderful way to teach our students while expressing thoughts and well wishes to the servicemen and women that protect our freedom each and every day. Once again, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Jeremy Lugumino for his commitment to the military and students of Cedar Grove. I would also like to thank Barbara Fry for creating the banner, Leah Caravella for her participation, and Melissa Hill for editing the video and delivering the notes. I am looking forward to sharing the notes with Bob when he arrives home, and I know his fellow Marines will have a great holiday, thanks to Jeremy, the teachers, and the students at Cedar Grove. Sincerely, Sue Sweeney, kindergarten teacher at North End in Cedar Grove. This truly is a special place, folks. This is a great district. We have great teachers, great families, and fantastic kids. So, once again, I'm proud to be your superintendent. Have a great holiday. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Featherman. Moving on the agenda from the Office of the Superintendent of Schools under Personnel, may I have a motion for S1 through S11? S1 is a motion to approve Mr. Featherman's report. S2 is a resolution, be it therefore resolved that Marie Criscolo has acquired tenure as Business Office Assistant in the Cedar Grove School District effective December 1st, 2014. S3 is a motion to approve the substitute lunch aides as set forth therein. S4 is a motion to approve Kristen R. Luna for morning supervision at South End School as set forth in that item. S5 is a motion to approve Victoria D. Girolamo for split lunch duty at South End School as set forth in that item. S6 is a motion to approve the following coaches as set forth in that item for the 2014-2015 school year. S7 is a motion to reimburse the school-based volunteers set forth therein as per policy 9180. S8 is a motion to approve the parents as set forth in that item as school volunteers. S9 is a motion to authorize attendance at the events as set forth therein. S10 is a motion to approve the leave of absence as set forth in that item. S11 is a motion to approve the following students as set forth therein for classroom observation. May I have a motion for those items, please?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Dye?
Yes.
Mrs. Marinelli?
Aye.
Mr. Man-
Except for S6, I will recuse myself.
Mr. Mandela?
Aye, but I also will recuse myself for S6.
And Mr. Sakala?
Yes. Under curriculum, may I have a motion for S12, which is a motion to approve the proposal to conduct an after-school literacy program at South End School in partnership with William Patterson University. Lauren Mastria, grade 1 teacher, will serve as the cooperating teacher. Linda Mattio will serve as the instructor. The program is expected to run every Tuesday from January 12th, 2015 through May 8th, 2015. May I have a motion for that item, please?
So moved.
Mr. Featherman, do you want to just talk a little bit about that before we
Sure.
vote, so we can let the public know what that's about?
Absolutely. Mrs. DiMatteo is an adjunct professor for William Patterson University, and for several years now, she's been teaching a program in the Patterson schools where graduate teachers, pre-service teachers, graduate students, enroll, and basically it's a marriage between theory and practice. So for part of the time that they're together each week, these pre-service teachers are tutoring the children in that particular school, in this case Patterson, going back, in literacy. And so what Mrs. DiMatteo has been looking to do is bring that program here to Cedar Grove. And we're happy to say that it's finally here. So what will happen in the spring is the pre-service teachers will enroll in this course that Mrs. DiMatteo is the adjunct professor for. We're hoping to get 12 pre-service teachers to enroll. And the program works on a ratio of 2 students for every 1 pre-service teacher. So if we get 12 teachers, we can access this program, or 24 of our students will have access to this program. Now, it's being housed at South End School for obvious reasons, but we're opening up the program to North End students as well. And what we'll target are those students that are most in need of support when it comes to literacy. So we're thrilled to have the program here under Mrs. DiMatteo's direction. There's no cost to the parents of these children that are selected to participate. We'll be getting out the the specific time windows where parents can either drop off and pick up or remand them back to aftercare. So there's lots of details to work out, but we're thrilled to have it housed here at South End School under Linda Matteo's care.
Thank you. And thank you to Mrs. DiMatteo for bringing that program here. It sounds, when I heard about it, it was, home run.
Home run.
So, any comments on that? May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Dye?
Yes.
Mrs. Marinelli?
Aye.
Mr. Mandela?
Aye.
And Mr. Sakala?
Yes. Under contracts, may I have a motion for S13, which is a motion to approve the contract for the 2014-2015 school year as set forth in that item.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Dye?
Yes.
Mrs. Marinelli?
Aye.
Mr. Mandela?
Aye.
And Mr. Sakala?
Yes. The meeting is open to the public at this time for comment for items that are either on or off the agenda. Seeing none, close that portion of the meeting. Board have any final comments before we adjourn for the rest of the calendar year?
No, I just want to wish
No.
my fellow board members a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy
Same
New
to you.
Year.
Happy holidays.
See you next
to
year.
the public
Happy
as
holidays to
well.
everybody.
It's
And,
been a fun year.
It's been a very fun year.
For the announcement of our future meetings, our first meeting of the new calendar year will be January 6th, 2015, here in the North End Media Center. 7 p.m. executive session, 8 p.m. regular meeting. I guess that will be our reorganization meeting.
It will be.
And our next meeting thereafter will be to be determined.
I just have a question. Are we staying on the first and third Tuesdays of the month?
I think we need to have a good discussion about that.
Okay, because we usually used to be the second. We've been first and third the whole year, so I didn't know if we were staying that way or second and fourth.
I have a tentative calendar with me we can discuss after.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Dye?
Yes.
Mrs. Marinelli? Aye. Mr. Mandela?
Aye.
And Mr. Sakala?
Yes, this meeting is adjourned.